few other things I'd like to point out, but I want to look at a little more data here. So I'm going to come up and I'm going to say, let's look at 1 year's worth of data. Inside of here, we now see there's 970 responses that we're looking at, and their score increased just a little bit here to 4.05. Now, as I come down, I'm going to see these charts. These are, we have both survey details and response frequency here, and trends. And so I'm going to remove a few of these options and just look at the overall score. Right now, I'm looking at it by week across this last year. And so I can see, okay, looks like we've pretty steadily here around 4 stars, but we did have 1 week, it looks like the week before Christmas, where we had a 1.6 star average. So clearly there's something going on there. This is a great place to pause and try and say, what's happening in this period of time where we have these drops? You'll notice across our system that especially in cold weather cities, the colder it gets, the lower the satisfaction tends to get. That's just something that we've noticed. You'll probably notice other things. For instance, are you undergoing maintenance at certain times? Was there staff turnover at various times? Oftentimes, the trends that you'll see will be correlated with a story you already know. And it can be really helpful to look at it and say, okay, we were doing great until this date. What happened until this date in October? What was the thing that caused us to have this drop? And it looks like we, progressed back to our normal satisfaction levels. So this seems to be an outlier. And if you can identify those, it's helpful to try and figure out what could we have done better to try and address that issue so it didn't affect our clients or our guests. Beyond being able to look at these trends, you can also look at the response frequency. How many responses am I getting per day? I can come in here and say, okay, look, looks like for this week they had 30 responses. That's pretty great. The next week, 28. You can look at all of these. Looks like they also had a few dips here. This one that only had 3 for the week of this week in January. That's not quite ideal. And so you can look at these and try and make sure, are we getting enough? And if not, what can we do to try and improve that? Do we need to change where the kiosk is placed? Do we need to add some advertising? Or is it maybe that the power was out or the internet was out? Those things happen. But in each instance, it's a good place to be able to look and try and say, okay, what can we do to make sure we're back at the average that we want to be at? Below that, you'll also see 2 other graphs. These are graphs of where you're getting responses from. I mentioned previously that most of the responses come from a kiosk. However, it's not the only way to get responses in the system. The system also allows online, QR code, or toll-free phone numbers to be able to allow you to get feedback in the system in various different ways. In this situation, it shows where these responses are coming from. Right now, it looks like 99.6% of all responses that we got for this time period at this location came from the kiosk. You see 966 of them. You also see 3 coming from the QR code and 1 coming from online. Perhaps you're interested in the different languages that are coming in. This graph over here shows you how many came in English, 8,049 of the responses. This would have been all of the different question responses that were gathered here, came in English, versus 159 in Spanish, 143 in French, and 131 in Persian. Interesting. As you look down, you'll also be able to see this breakdown of what people are saying. This is where the AI and sentiment analysis inside of the system comes through. What we do is for each piece of feedback that we get that comes in that's free text that somebody wrote, it's analyzed by an AI and machine learning algorithm. It looks and tries to figure out the sentiment of the response that somebody gave. Was this a positive or negative sentiment? It also tries to identify the major emotion of this. Was this happy? Was this angry? Was this somebody being grateful? Is this somebody that's sad? Right? And we flag those and then give you graphs to be able to look and try and see, overall, are people fairly satisfied? Are they fairly unsatisfied? Are they giving suggestions or questions? So it breaks down this for each individual one, and then for this time period, I then can come in and look and say, oh, okay, here's my sentiment gauge. Looks like people overall are fairly happy with the things that they're sharing. And on our emotion breakdown, it looks like the top emotion by far in this grouping is suggestions. People have suggestions of what should change here or maybe improve. Also, the second highest in here is gratitude. People seem to be very grateful for the services that they've received. So that's interesting, but I want to learn a little bit more about it. And so I'm going to come down here to each individual response. And I can see for this question of what do you wish was here, a breakdown of all of the different things that they said. Now you see this one, for instance, somebody saying thank you, right? They just wanted to say thank you in here. And you can see it's pretty accurately categorized as happy and as a gratitude response. Say that I thought this response was wrong, though. I could then come in and say, hey, I want to rerun this. And so I can reprocess. This is NPL's natural language processing. I can rerun this and see if it changes it. Or I can come and recategorize it myself. If I want to say, no, this wasn't meh, this is actually happy. And this is not spam. The system also uses this to categorize spam and remove those from the data set. So you don't get those spammy responses you may not want to see. And I can say, hey, yep, looks like the emotion was wrong. I think this is happy, but it was very positive. I think that's right. And I just save that, and it now recategorizes it for me. Say I'm looking for ways to improve. In here, I can come in and say, hey, why don't I just see all of the suggestions that people are giving me? And as I look down, I can say, okay, what do I wish was here? Haircuts. That's a suggestion. Seems like something reasonable that we could accommodate. Or maybe I go down and say, hey, please soup and more real juice. Okay, maybe I can change some of the dietary things that we're doing here. Or somebody's asking for a Coke machine, computer lab, and laundry. Showers, make your clothing room available, better razors, all sorts of things that will pop up here depending on what you're asking for. Perhaps I'm trying to help the staff realize the value of what they're doing. I can then come in and say, hey, let's just look at all of the responses where it's expressing gratitude. And I can see here, staff works hard, right? Good customer service, people very kind. Thank you. Liz is kind at the desk and making sure I get my mail and packages. Right? A whole bunch of different things that you can utilize to try and improve staff morale or help make changes to your organization. You also, if you want to, can look at all of these in a word cloud, where you can see the largest and most prominent things here mentioned in this data is thank you and showers. Right? That tends to be the most prominent thing. Or I can have AI analyze all of this for me, and it's going to pick up trends and patterns that maybe I don't see. It takes a few seconds, but once it's ready, it's going to give us a breakdown of the feedback that we've received. Here we go. It says it looks like there's increased demand for basic amenities. Several respondents expressed a need for hot water and better shower facilities. Showers were mentioned repeatedly, suggesting there may be a significant dissatisfaction with the current offerings. Now, you probably could have gotten that yourself, but the AI is really handy to be able to help you get this type of information very fast. If I want even more detail about the responses, I can then come down to this response details section, where for each question, it's going to give me a breakdown of how many people answered, for instance, 5 stars versus 1 star, 3 star, 2 stars. Or I can look at it and say, okay, how many people chose food as the service they offered, or clothing, or job help, or showers. I can look at these in a bar chart form, or if I want to, I can see them in a pie chart, or I can see them in a table form, if this would be preferred. Any one of those work, and different ways can help you find different things that might be of interest